Swinging a high drive into center field. Hits at the wall. It is gone! Casas does it again. It's gone! It's into the bullpen! This game is tied! This game is tied!
He swings and rips one to center field. It's high, it's deep, it's back, it's gone! Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike three, it's over! The Red Sox have won the World Championship!
Welcome back to Play Tessie. It is episode 139. It is October 1st if you're listening on drop day, and we are releasing another episode back-to-back days here with the official podcast of Being Back Where You Belong, also known as the official Red Sox podcast of WEI. Before we get going, hit the subscribe button, rate us 5 stars, Apple, Spotify, Odyssey app, wherever. Do all that good stuff, subscribing 5 stars. We're also on YouTube on the WEI channel. You can hit the thumbs up on those videos. We've got a whole Play Tessie playlist there with all our episodes, so check that out. And as always, we're on the socials at Play Tessie on Twitter and Instagram. So I'm here with Sammy and I'm here with Pat. And as always, the day after the Red Sox season ends, you get the year-end press conference that way in the past ownership would talk, and they don't anymore. Sam Kennedy kind of speaks for them. But the three guys there, if you're not familiar, it's Sam Kennedy, it's Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow, and it's Red Sox manager Alex Cora. The three of them go up there to the table and answer questions from the media for, I don't know, I'd say around 40 minutes. And man, I felt like such a total, I don't know. I was losing my you-know-what, just trying to write everything down and take all these notes and just try to organize my thoughts, because the questions come in at this weird pace that just one guy asks about one thing and then another person asks about something else. And then maybe they go back to the original thing, and it's hard to organize it all, but I think I did it. And we're going to go through the notes that I took. But before we get to that, I want to hear general takeaways or biggest, most important moment from the press conference from both Sammy and Pat here. I know that these press conferences can kind of, they say a lot of cliches and you get a lot of the same stuff, but you get little tidbits based off of either things they said or the way in which they say things. And I'm curious, before we really get into the meat and potatoes here, what did you guys really take away from this? I'll start with you, Sammy.
Well, I think this was basically a standard Red Sox, a modern Red Sox after the season press conference. You didn't really get much of anything, a lot of words, but not much was said. But if I had to point to something, I think Craig Breslow sounded a little bit differently. He sounded much more pointed in the way he was speaking. He didn't sound like a new guy as much. Still sounded a little bit new, but it sounded like he had much more of a grasp on the direction the team was moving, options he has this offseason, what the team needs moving forward, and the improvements they've made. He referenced those a lot. So if you want to take anything away, thought that was interesting. And the other thing, I've said countless times how much I can't stand listening to Sam Kennedy, specifically Sam Kennedy, speak, period, in front of the mic, because he is a master of PR speak. He will say so many things. He'll answer your question. He'll say so many words. And at the end, you'll be like, what? Did he answer the question? He said so much. The one thing he said that I kind of liked, someone asked him about spending. I don't remember the question specifically, but he and Breslow kind of chimed in too, said that it does the Red Sox no favors to talk about money figures publicly to the media, to fans, to anyone. It would be like losing a small advantage in negotiating, and that's why they don't do it. And that's always been the case. I just thought it was interesting that he straight up said it this time. And so maybe that was some feedback he got. He kind of references that he sees the constructive criticism from the Red Sox fan base, I guess you could call it. So maybe he's evolving, very, very, very slowly evolving, painfully slowly evolving. So that's great. And yeah, but overall, pretty much the same old.
It's interesting. You talk about a little bit about a shift in tone, and just building off of that, one thing that I noticed today versus the past, and you can interpret it in a number of ways. I know Chris Cotillo he was talking about moving the goalposts. The tone to me changed from, I demand World Series championships. We're in it for championships every year. We're championship driven. And it's like, all right, like you literally just came in last place. Like really? Like that's what it's been in the past. This year they came in third and they didn't come into the press conference and say like, we need to get back where we belong, which is winning the World Series. We need to win the World Series. And it's like, all right, well, how are you going to do that? This time around, the tone kind of changed to, all right, like enough is enough. It's time now. Enough of the shit. Like, we got to get back to the playoffs and we're going to do it. So, like, I don't know if that means like the way they operate is going to change, but at minimum, just the tone in which they talked changed. So I agree with you there, Sammy. I noticed that too.
Pat, do you believe that? Sorry. Before we go to Pat, do you believe there's a shift? Because like,
I don't know.
I really want to, but at this point, I feel like I'd be an idiot if I just said, yeah, I believe him. Like, how could you at this point?
No, that's where I'm at, man. I don't know if they've shifted anything. I'm not sitting here telling you they definitely haven't, but until further notice, like I'm just assuming they're operating like the way they've been operating for the last several years at this point. And if they change from that, awesome. And if they don't, I won't be surprised anymore. Like I have been the last couple of years when I keep selling myself that things are going to change because they say full throttle and they say all these things. I'm just not going to let myself get hurt again. No matter, they could have said anything today and I would have said that. They could have told you we intend to sign Corbin Burns or Max Fried, and I would have come here today and said, I'll believe it when I see it.
Talk about hollow words. You see it like, oh yeah, those words are hollow. I need actions. This is the ultimate example of that. Like they've said again,
and they say it too. They say talk is cheap. They say talk is cheap. Like let our actions speak. They say it, and their actions have spoken for them in the last several years.
Not a good way.
Not in a bad way. All right, Pat. Biggest takeaway. Tell me. You heard the presser. You read all the quotes. It's all in your head now. What is your biggest takeaway from today?
I mean, mine personally, it has to be Alex Cora being very, very clear that in his heart of hearts, he firmly believes this is the last year. I think he said of struggle, but and normally, sure, like you're the coach of the Red Sox, you're in this position, you have to have faith in your guys. I get that, whatever. His word with that, to me at least, carries way more weight as he just signed an extension. He has to know there's going to be some kind of shift in methodology, in free agency, aggressiveness in trades, or just something. He has to be in the loop on something where he can, A, confidently sign a new contract that did not make him the highest paid manager in baseball when he had a pretty good case to be, and to, after, an abysmal year, or not an abysmal year, but just such a letdown down the stretch, to still be able to say these things, he has to know something. And to me, that speaks volumes way higher than anything Craig or Sam could have possibly said.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, Pat, what's even more significant is that he's done it multiple times now. Because he talked today, he basically said, one of the big factors was winning. I was promised winning. That's part of the reason I stayed. And he said, like you said, Pat, I think this is the last year of struggle. I think it's going to be fun starting next year. We're not just going to compete for the playoffs. We're going to compete for the division. We're going to try to get the bye. And
do you guys believe Cora when he talks?
Well, I don't know. I'll read you the quote that he said the other day. I believe it was after the second to last game of the season. So he basically reiterated what he said. And I always find it more like impactful when someone repeats themselves, because people say shit all the time. And if you say it multiple times, you've said it the first time and you didn't feel like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have said that. What he said the first time, a couple days before the season ended, was, personally, I do believe this is the last struggle. Moving forward, the offseason will compete, spring training will compete, and roster-wise, it's going to be a lot of tough decisions. So this is something that he said twice. So clearly, I mean, either he believes it or he wants people to think he believes it. The one, Sammy, to just respond to your question about do you believe him, I do remember listening to Alex Cora on the Name Redacted podcast last year, and Jared Carrabis, the host of that, I remember asked him, like, because this was after the full throttle stuff, and the Red Sox were making some pretty big promises. And this is, of course, after the year before where they lost Xander Bogaerts. And Jared asked Cora straight up, like, am I going to get hurt again? Like, they're saying all these things. Am I going to get hurt again? And Cora said, I don't believe you're going to get hurt again. So I do again have pause, but Alex Cora out of the three guys and out of the three positions is definitely the most straight up. So I agree, Pat. When he says something like that, it hits the hardest.
Yeah, and this is why it sucks to not have John Henry there. That because he's the guy that he can confirm all this. Because in my head, and I've said this before, I don't think Cora was lying when he said that to Carabas. I don't even think Tom Werner was lying when he said full throttle. I think he actually meant it. And I think that John Henry is the guy who's really ultimately pulling the strings. And if he gives you the okay, then go for it. Max Fried, trade for XYZ, Bregman, who cares? Go nuts. But if he's not, if Henry's not there, what can you really take from any of this? Because it's all up to him. And if these guys don't know what he's thinking, what are we even getting when they talk?
Yeah, you're just hoping that the things that a guy like Alex Cora says come from the fact that when he was negotiating that contract, John Henry himself told him, we're going to change the way we're going about these things, and we've gone through our rebuild, and now it's time to come out on the other side. I hope that when they say it's time and like, all right, enough is enough, I hope they mean it. I'll give you guys my biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway, I'm glad that you guys covered the two things that probably should have been your biggest takeaways from this. I'll give you a little bit more of an obscure one. There were questions about leadership here. Cora said that they had enough. He talked about Duran and Rafi setting examples and posting. He talked about the three starting pitchers who all threw 30 starts this year, and that they have a voice, though he didn't sound super convicted that they had a good enough leadership on this team. But okay, so I'll get to my point here. They asked about leadership. They asked about core pieces. They talked about the young core that they have in place in this team and that's ready to be supplemented, all that good stuff. And the name that never got mentioned, unless I missed it, but I don't believe this name was ever mentioned, was Tristan Casas. And the reason I prefaced that with the leadership thing was this is a guy who, before the season at the rookie development program, asked to go so that he could be a sounding board for the young kids. Like clearly, and he made it known, like, I'm trying to take a leadership role with this team. And granted, I get it. He was out for the majority of this season. So to be a leader, you got to be out there on the field. It's hard to lead when you're not there in the fight. So I understand that. But to not hear his name when talking about potential guys that could step up as leaders, and to not hear his name brought up when they were talking about building blocks, young core pieces, it was a little, I don't know, it piqued my mind a little bit. I don't know what I'm like. I don't have any conclusions that I'm drawing from this, but I just thought it was pretty noteworthy that it wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, I think it could be something as subliminal as he just wasn't healthy all year, so they didn't think to mention him, or he really couldn't take on the leadership role this year because he didn't play. But it does feel a little odd that he wasn't mentioned. And then I think it was Cora, I think it was Breslow last week. He was talking about these young building blocks, and he said Willier and Cedon and blah, blah. And one name that he never brought up was Jaron Duran. And it's just like, I'm not reading too much into it, but it is odd that these are not names that come to like the top of your head first, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying there's malintent behind not saying their names, but when you're listing guys of leaders or guys who broke out this year, those two should be at the top of both of those conversations, and to not say their name is odd.
And I think the reason that it piques my mind is like last year, the guy whose name didn't get mentioned in these things was Verdugo. And that did mean something. But of course, like 90+% of the time, and this is just a guess on my part, but like, I bet most of the time it doesn't mean anything, but last year it did. So that's why it piques my mind. I don't know. Sammy, am I going crazy here?
You mentioned this earlier. It was moving pretty fast. It was kind of a scrum format, not a scrum format, but like the speed of a scrum format interview. If you guys know what I mean, like a lot of questions coming from different directions. It wasn't really like a traditional press conference. And when you're moving that fast, just mentioning a name, a guy who hasn't really been on the field much, like Casas this year. So I don't think it means much. I think Casas even mentioned it the other day. He said he doesn't expect to get an extension offer anytime soon. He didn't really have a great season or anything. So
On the Baseball's
I'm
Boring show.
Yep. Baseball's and Boring show. Rob Bradford, very nice guy. We've all met him before. So yeah, I'm not taking too much away from that. The Verdugo one, I think, was a bit different because that relationship was not good, and I like how Cora not holds a grudge, but he's like he's a player manager, but that also means like he gets annoyed at the BS. He's not going to just be like brush it off. So I think Verdugo just rubbed him the wrong way too many times. So yeah, that's why he. Jesus, Pat.
Good God.
So that's why the Verdugo thing was relevant last year. This year, I don't think much of the Costas thing. Jesus,
He just rubbed them off badly, Sammy. I get it. I hear what you're saying.
Humor of like a 14-year-old still, dude. I'm a mess.
All right, so here's how I think we go about the rest of this. I'm looking at my notes right now, and good job on our part. A lot of this has been covered, so I'm going to go through it. And so first thing I have is spending an offseason approach, which we talked about. Ownership. I'll tell you what they said there. I thought it was I don't know who asked the question, but they asked if ownership believes they've done enough. And Sam Kennedy said, no, we're not there. That's on us. When you fall short of expectations, you can always do more. And we feel that obligation and responsibility each and every year. And then he ended up saying that the feeling at the ballpark was what could have been and not wanting the season to end. Did you guys have that feeling? Because, okay, I can't tell if this is just me being a fucking nutbag, but like usually at the end of non-playoff seasons, I am so ready to have the obligation that I put on myself of watching every single one of these games. I'm excited to have that off my plate when the games are meaningless. But this year, like, I wasn't entirely totally ready to let it go. And I thought that was interesting because there wasn't like a top prospect that got called up at the end of the season that I was excited to watch. Did you guys have that same feeling? No way you did, Sammy.
I'm kind of weird I'm really weird with sports. Red Sox more than anything. I view it like if this isn't building towards the next World Series, then like fast forward. Like the playoffs are coming up, Major League Baseball playoffs. And like, yeah, I'll watch some of it. But if I could just skip all of it and get to the offseason, just time travel, I would do that in a second. Like, I don't really give a shit about the other teams. And if the Red Sox are out, I'm just ready to like, let's go next season. Come on. Try again. So I was ready for it to end. I wanted to see Quinn Priester pitch. That was cool. It was cool seeing Richard Fitz. I like watching Thick Willie. I'm a huge fan of Thick Willie. But I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm ready to move on. I was more than happy for the season to end the other day. So, yeah, no, I do not share that sentiment.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I was ready for the season to be over. And I'm much like Sammy. Like 5 days after the World Series cannot happen soon enough. Get me there right now, right this second, because that's when our shit starts again. We have like about a month and a half-ish of a lull. Obviously, I'll watch the playoffs. I'm not a sicko. But I'm also cognizant of, and we've said it for 3 straight fucking years, but this is a huge, huge, huge offseason. And that anticipation coupled with like what could actually happen, what's realistic, it's exciting. I want to get there. Sure. I want to see Quinn Priester make a start in Boston. He pitched great. Seeing Richard Fitz kind of showing he can be a depth starter. Cool. That's nice. I guess like rooting for Mickey Gasper to get his first major league hit. Like, that's cool. And then like Nick Sogard like showing he might be a nice utility guy. Cool. These are all little storylines that are like nice to see. I'm not looking forward to these things. I am looking forward to 5 days after the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
I'm good. And like, I'm still, like I said, it's not like I'm not going to watch the playoffs. Of course I am, but it's just very, I've always been this way, like robot view of baseball specifically, like just win, can't win, next one, try again, win, can't do it. Okay, move on.
I think maybe the reason that I didn't quite get as over it by the end as I usually do was I thought that being 500 and being above 500 was so important to just being able to put a piece of paper in front of the owners and say, look, this team is ready. And I truly believe that. So I really did think that those games and winning those games mattered for the immediate future of the team. Obviously, if they didn't,
I hope not. That would be such an insane
I have no
way
faith
to run a team. You might be right. Like we've had this discussion before. Like that is fucking crazy, but you might be right.
All right, next thing on the list. How much do you guys care about the ticket price thing? It's always asked about at this particular press conference. And this year, usually Kennedy gives a number like, yeah, we anticipate it increasing by X amount next year. This year, he said it's dynamic pricing for each game based on demand. And last year to this year, it went up 1.7%, and he wouldn't commit a number to where it was going to be this year. But like, I think you can fairly assume that with it going up from last year to this year, it's probably going to go up from this year to next year. People make a whole big shtick out of this every single year with the ticket prices. I think there's pretty affordable ways to get into that ballpark. It's weirdly one of the things that I think Sam Kennedy is right on. Yeah, the average ticket price is pretty damn high, but to get into the ballpark and see a game, it's doable. You don't have to be loaded to do it. And I get, man, like inflation happens and they raise ticket prices, and like, yeah, I wish the ticket prices stayed the same, but that's just not the way business works. Should they be able to increase ticket prices if they stink? No, but it's a free business and they can do what they want. That's my thought on it. Are either of you guys of the opposite state of mind there? Do either of you guys get worked up over the ticket price thing?
No, that's as businessy as it gets. I figured with the prices of everything are going up. Look at even at the trade deadline, we're always like, oh, overpay. It's the same thing with tickets. They're also going to keep going up. That's inflation, Gordo. If you want to talk economics, we can do a whole segment on that. I'm sure the listeners would not be bored to tears on that. But yeah, I mean, I wish the tickets were $1 each. That would be fantastic, but it's just not going to happen. So a 1% increase, if that happens again, what is it, 1.7 you said?
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's not that bad. And the Red Sox do a lot of cool ticketing things where you can get in for cheap, like especially if you're a student, man. I used to skip so many meals and put that cash towards student nines tickets and stand family section. If you know where that is, that's a good place to stand. There's always open seats. So I don't, it doesn't really bother me. Figured.
Pat, you were nodding. You're in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. Like, if you do like the simple math, what a $50 ticket with a 1.7 increase is $50 and 60 cents. Like, it's going up $1 per ticket.
Maybe 54-ish, like 53.70 something. 50.
Is it?
No, I think Pat's right. I think Pat's right on this. Sammy, that's what it would be if it was like 200.
Oh, right.
I went backwards.
I was supposed to cut it in half. Yeah. Right.
So,
You're right.
Sure, like it incrementally goes up, but even if and don't get me started on the payroll. I'm not going to tie it into the payroll, but like the prices of like your generic bench outfielder, like those guys, like it's just inflation. Like guys are getting paid more. The league's making more money. Rob Refsnyder is on a dirt cheap deal, but like Giolito, who was like a 3, he got paid whatever it was, $19 million. Like it's prices go up, and $1, $2 a ticket. I really could not care less.
And I think a lot of people get upset because it's like, okay, your payroll went down, but your ticket prices go up. Don't get mad about the ticket prices. Get mad about the payroll. Pay the damn players. I'll pay the ticket prices. You pay the players.
I hate
next thing,
people who are like when people. Sorry, the people who are
you're
like,
good.
Yo, you're still going to Fenway Park? That's why they're not spending money, because you're still going. That's why the Sox aren't spending money, because of people like you. You're a pink hat, which is funny because people say you're a pink hat for going to Fenway, which implies that if you don't watch the games and don't go to Fenway, you're a real fan. But if you're going, you're not a real fan. Isn't that great?
Also,
great
don't forget the people who always say, "Oh, let's just boycott. Let's just boycott." Like, how many times has that actually worked? How many times has that actually worked?
Hey, it worked for the Oakland A's. They boycotted the stadium, and now they don't have a team. Yeah, that's great. Great logic, everybody who thinks boycott Fenway crowd. Fucking losers. Hey, carry on, Gordo. Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, Maybe not even something to respond to, but something I thought was interesting was pitching development. They have been building out, or this is what he said, is Breslow said they've been building out a front office that is, quote, modern and positions them to make great player acquisition decisions. There's been a change in philosophy that he thinks will build the pitching talent pipeline, which he says is in a much better place than it was. And their goal is that they want to feel so comfortable with the starting pitchers that they have in AAA stepping in that you'd almost wonder why they aren't in the current MLB rotation, which I think is what the Dodgers have right now. And I think that's a good thing. And that's all I have to say about that. I think that's a good thing, and keep up the good work, man. It is in a better place than it was.
You know what they say? They say pitching development, do it.
Yes.
Yep,
Next on the agenda, thumbs up from Pat. Next on the agenda, defense. They said the defense wasn't good enough and specified the infield defense, which I think if you watch the outfield defense this year, you understand that, yeah, that's right to do that, because as the outfield currently stands, you got Duran in left, Cedon in center, and Willier in right. And those three, if they play those positions every day, obviously this past year they didn't. Cedon played a bunch of shortstop, which moved Duran to center, and you saw a lot of Tyler O'Neill out there. But if those three are your outfielders, you probably have the best defensive outfield in Major League Baseball. But the infield is a different story. They understand that they need to make it better, and they got asked about Devers, if they've had conversations about moving him off of third base. They said they haven't had those discussions, but also made a point to say that, like, if they were to have them, they wouldn't have had them already. So basically a non-answer. I don't think they're going to move Devers off third base. I think that you've heard Cora and others talk about how much better the infield defense, particularly on the left side of the field, including with Rafi, gets when Trevor Story plays. Obviously, he didn't play much this year. So obviously a lot of next year, in my opinion, hinges on, can Trevor Story play shortstop full time? And can you have a consistent second baseman full time who can defend the position? You're not starting Emmanuel Valdez there for however many games he started at second base this year. I think he might have started the most at second base of anyone on the team. Tristan Coss is hopefully playing the majority at first base, and that allows your infield defense to be a lot better. That's my take on it. Quick take, but
I thought Vaughn Grissom looked a lot better at second base towards the end of the season. Like, if you look at, remember in spring training, we were talking to, I think it was like, we were talking to Lou or someone at spring training, Gordo, and we were talking about how the feeds from Grissom fielding at second base and then throwing to second base was so clunky, and he was such a work in progress. And I think it looks way better. Still not great, but way better. Devers, well, agree to disagree on that one. I think he's an absolute butcher out there. He maybe improved 2% this year. I don't think he's ever going to be a good defender. I don't even think he'll be a league average defender. So
I don't either.
It seems like the Red Sox are, it seems like they're fine keeping him there. And if you have Story healthy, he can cover up some of the deficiencies that Rafi has. And I think that another part of the reason I would like to see him moved off of third base, either teach him first, or which is easier position. Let's be real. People hate that when you say first base is easier. It is. Spare me. Or DH him. I think a lot of his struggles are mental when he struggles at the plate. And I also think a lot of the injury stuff might be mitigated if you keep him off the field. Just have him swing. You're not paying him to play defense. And then I think one thing that nobody's mentioned, catcher defense was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad. Like, Wong is very good at controlling the run game. He's got a good arm, but he sucks with blocking. I think he's the worst in Major League Baseball, or close to it. And then his framing is bad too. Framing is going to matter less likely in the future with robot umps coming in, but it's still going to matter. It's still going to be significant. So, and they kind of transitioned him into a utility role towards the end of the season, whether that was an eye towards the future or a necessity, kind of hard to tell. But yeah, catching defense is something that really, really needs to improve. And I feel like it kind of gets glossed over for whatever reason. Maybe because the infield defense overall was so bad, you don't have time to focus on catcher. But yeah,
Sammy,
man.
I think the reason that catcher defense, and this is at least for me why I don't talk about it a ton, is because I think that Kyle Teal is going to be up here sooner rather than later. And like, let's see how his defense grades out. And if that's a problem, then that's when Because it's like not like they're gonna go make a trade for like to solve the catcher problem. Like they've got their solution in the minors, and gosh darn it, it better work.
Hopefully, I mean, I've heard. I don't think his defense is great. I think it's all right, but we'll see. We'll see. And
It's going to be better than Wong's. I believe.
Sure,
I believe that.
I agree.
But you're right.
You
I don't think it's going to be like it's not going to be like Adley Rutschman where it's like 100%. I forget if it's blocking or framing, but like Rutschman, I think it's blocking.
I think it's also hard to see catcher defense for a lot of people. I mean, for me, it is. I played baseball for close to 20 years. I was never a catcher. So that if there's one thing I'm not super knowledgeable about, it's the minutia in the world of catching. So it's hard to see, I guess, maybe why you don't hear about it too much. So yeah, but it is something that needs to improve. Like as much as we like Wong overall as a player, the defense is just woof.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, Sammy, one thing that you mentioned was Vaughn looking better at second, which I agree with. Let's not sleep on the fact that the opening day second baseman might be Christian Campbell, who is a very good defensive infielder. That's another thing to consider here, which even if Rafi stays at third, a healthy Story saves Rafi's ass so much. Even an average to slightly above average defender in Campbell at second and Casas, you're better around there. Catcher's the big thing because Connor Wong couldn't block shit this year. And
it was
love
bad.
Connor. Could not block.
It was bad.
The arm is good. The framing's not good. You got to hope Teal is at least league average, and then you can worry about his bat later because behind the plate absolutely murdered them from I would say end of May through August-ish. There was a 2-month stretch where the defense behind the dish was noticeable, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that so much of this year, like you look at the guys who are supposed to be at each position and you wonder to yourself, why was the Red Sox defense arguably the worst in baseball? But you look at the up the middle. We talked about up the middle all last offseason. That's center field, shortstop, second base, and catcher. And you guys just went over it, how bad the catcher defense was. Second base was a revolving door all year. Shortstop, they put Cedon Rafaela there, who he got the job done, don't get me wrong, but he certainly wasn't saving, and he wasn't saving Rafi's ass. He wasn't saving anyone's ass over there. He made some cool plays, but overall, I believe he finished the year grading out as a below average defensive shortstop. And obviously center field defense was awesome, whether it be Rafaela or Duran, but when 3 out of those 4 spots aren't giving you really good defense, that's where you run into issues. I want to get into the next
real quick. Sorry. Last thing on catching defense. I don't know, baseball savant, people kind of take it as church and it's not, but Danny Jansen, 100th percentile blocking this year. I feel like that can't be right. I know he's good at blocking, but the best.
He looked good doing it. I thought he looked good doing it.
Maybe bring him back as the backup. I wouldn't hate that. Backup Jansen. Keep some Jansen around.
We'll get into a future episode where we'll talk about some catcher stuff. I've got a guy who I've got my eye on, but I'm gonna hold on to it for now until we do that episode. Let's talk about a little bit of prospect stuff here. I thought one of the more interesting things that Breslow said this year, he was basically asked if any of the big four, if he thinks any of the big four are going to be on the opening day roster. And he basically said he wants them to have to make really tough decisions and have guys in those spots that they don't want to take spots away from and stuff like that. But he made a point that I thought was really interesting, which was they talked about the big four and he wanted to include Franklin Arias in that, which I thought was interesting. He said their player development, he thinks it's second to none, thinks it's the best that there is. And yeah, he wants the big four by early next year, but he wants the decisions to be tough. And he seems to really, really like Franklin Arias. Not sure if that's him giving an honest opinion or if it's trade related. I tend to think that it's his opinion, but yeah, I thought that was good to hear.
That sounds like some good old tire pumping to me. That sounds like drumming up some interest because that's a name that is floating on the lower level of top hundreds all around the league right now. Pipeline, he gets some honorable mentions. Kylie McDaniel, and then you get Baseball America. He is top 100 on Baseball America, I think.
Dang,
but
is he really?
I think, or he was
off.
He
he is. I believe he was the sixth, I think, ranked on Baseball America for Red Sox, but he was top 100.
So then, to me at least, you have Story locked, signed up, loaded, whatever. Marcelo knocking at the door, Campbell knocking at the door. Franklin Arias, unless he switches to a corner outfielder, which they don't really have any corner outfield spots open. For me, that sounds like some good old tire pumping, baby.
94 in the top 100. Thank you, Joe. All right, time to piss in your cereal. I don't think it meant anything. It sounded, if you listen to that interview, that part of the interview, like, it sounded like he was just rattling some names off the top of his head. And maybe you want to make something of Arias coming to mind, but I don't know. It sounded like he was just like, yeah, we got other guys that like Arias and, did he say Cespedes? Or he said someone else as well. So
thought it was just Arias. Right. Maybe he said Montgomery too, probably, right?
He was talking about Montgomery's getting healthy. He did. They did speak about Marcelo and Montgomery's injuries being very minor, which is nice. But that was intended to mention those guys. But when you mentioned Arias, I noticed that, and I kind of had the thought, like, was that on purpose? But I don't know. I think he came to mind, which you might make something of that he was the first guy to come to mind. But I will say, Pat, your theory is much more exciting and makes for much better podcasting. So let's just go with that.
All right. Next one I have. We talk about the struggles that the Red Sox have had in the second half for the last now several years, 3 straight years, actually 4 straight. They were really bad in 2021 as well in the second half. And Cora made a point to say that guys need to be in better shape to get through September. He talked about Cedon Rafael. He wants to get him bigger and stronger. I think it might have been Breslow who a few days ago talked about Rafi. It might have been Cora. One of them talked about Rafi needing to get into camp in good shape. And Cora referenced the Cleveland Guardians bullpen having guys who look like horses back there to withstand a season. He thinks that Justin Slayton can get a lot stronger. He said he wants Zach Kelly to get more consistent because he loves his stuff. But obviously, we saw it with this year with Zach that there was definitely a lack of consistency. And he wanted guys to look at Jarren Duran as an example that, hey, yeah, playing every day, playing every single game is possible. You can do that. They said they're probably not going to do that again with Jarren Duran, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, like, guess what? You better be ready. Put yourself in good shape coming into camp in the offseason because we're going to have expectations for you because here at the Red Sox, we post. So I thought that was a good thing. I hope they take it to heart. I hope guys come into camp in the best damn shape of their life.
It's Rafael Devers, man. Like we joke how he's pudgy. He looks like a little kid, but dude, I don't want my $330 million player having friggin' double D's out there, bud. I need him to clean it up. Or maybe Pat does, but he came into spring training before 2024, and we all said like, not a good look. Like it just didn't look like a professional athlete. And I know it's baseball. They're not, MMA fighters where they got to be shredded on the button with the weight, but you still got to be in good shape. So I'm looking at Devers specifically. He needs to come into camp in better shape. And then I agree, Cedon Rafael, he is very, very small. He could put on some muscle as well. Probably not too much. You don't want to be too yoked doing what he does, but yeah, man, it's Devers. Devers, he has to clean it up. And I feel bad. I feel like I talk bad about Devers a lot on the show. Love Rafael Devers. One of my favorite players I've ever had the pleasure to watch. But there's things he needs to clean up, and that's one of them. Get in shape, bud.
Yeah, I think, was it 22 that he came into camp and actually looked pretty good fitness-wise?
Yeah, two spring trainings ago.
I think it was 22. And then, because 22, he played 141 games. Or sorry, it was, no. Yes, 2022. Played 141 games. He had 27 home runs, 88 RBI, hit 295. The year before that, also came into camp looking pretty good. 156 games, 38 home runs, 113 RBI, hit 280. I'm not asking for him to come into camp looking like Stanton. I'm asking him to come into camp looking like Joe Ram. Like, just get in a little bit better shape. work on maintaining yourself a little bit better. Make sure, I hate to use a Tom Brady word, but be pliable. Like, work on do whatever you got to do.
Put
Seriously,
Brady on the put Rafi on the Brady diet, man.
pliable. No, I agree. I agree with Pat. Pliable. That's the best way to do it. That's how you stay healthy. You don't need to be looking like Tyler O'Neill, like yoked out of your mind. You want to be on the field, moving back and forth. Like a light heavyweight MMA fighter, Pat. There you go. You like that reference?
Yes, I just want like a little bit of like, I should probably get a little bit lighter on the feet. Make sure I'm doing okay. And I don't want him to do like, I'm not expecting a Jaron season. I'm not expecting him to play 155 plus, 140 plus. That should be very realistic.
Yeah, I agree. And stop making Sydney Sweeney jealous, Rafi. Fucking clean it up. Clean it up. 331 million dollars, bro. Clean it up.
All right. Next one on the docket, I don't even think needs a reaction, just an update that they are still searching for a GM, and it kind of seemed like they think that they're going to hire one this offseason, but Breslow wouldn't put any sort of like, yeah, we're going to have one hired by the season on it. He wouldn't say, but I tend to think after watching the presser that that's going to be the case. So curious who that'll be.
What does that
Doesn't really
do?
matter.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's not that big of a deal. They always ask about it.
Like, yo, Red Sox should pick up Farhan Zaidi. The Giants just let him go. I'm like, to do what? To
let it happen, man. Yeah, they can be boys, dude.
No,
I like it. Farhan's bald, dude. We need more bald on this team.
If the Giants can hire Buster Posey, you can literally get any Red Sox alumni for that spot.
Who would be a good Red Sox alumni for that? Don't say Dustin Pedroia. Everyone says Dustin
Sammy.
Pedroia.
That's what the Giants did, is literally hire Dustin Pedroia to be their GM. That's what they did.
Yeah. Well,
that's what they did. They're the same guy.
I feel like it's like hiring David Ortiz. Like, he's the guy. When I lived out there in California, when Buster Posey was in his prime, he was the face of the team. I feel like Big Papi was more face of the team than Pedroia. I'm nitpicking here, but
I think I got the name.
Nomar.
Well, I was gonna say Derek Lowe because he just moved back up. Or was that no? I think that was Keith Folk. One of those two. I might be getting them mixed up. But
Keith Folk for GM. Let's start it. Let's start the Keith Folk for GM train.
Keith Folk for GM.
Keith Folk for GM. The people have been clamoring for Keith Folk and his nasty changeup to be the GM. Make it happen. Let it be said. Let it be done.
Get me Corbin Burns in a room with Manny Del Carmen. Shit's getting
done deal.
Dude, he actually, side note.
Okie dokie, the GM.
Side note, I'll be quick. Manny Del Carmen, bartender up the street from me.
Really?
What?
Does he own the place?
Have I never told you guys this?
You know, maybe you did. You mentioned something about Manny Del Carmen. I didn't know he was tending the bar, though.
Yeah, he's a bartender. Golf course up the street.
A bartender. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you should go sing to Manny Del Carmen at his bar. Okay, last thing I have here. Actually, I have two things left because I sent a clip to Joe that I want to play for you guys because I thought it was funny. Tyler O'Neill, Breslow said, yeah, he's earned the right to test free agency. Seemed to specify more, we need right-handed pop, 30-homer pop, and we need a guy who can take advantage of the monster. And it even like Tyler O'Neill on the last day of the season told the media that, yeah, there's definitely mutual interest in a return for him, but it feels like the Red Sox are definitely going to explore all avenues for that spot. I even though I would offer it to him, I hope the Red Sox do offer it to him. I have a feeling they're not going to offer him the qualifying offer, but that's just based off of the tone and the quotes that Breslow has said. And obviously that's like a dangerous game to make opinions off those things, but it's good that at least in my opinion, my takeaway from that quote was it's good that they understand that if they lose O'Neill, like you better get some goddamn right-handed pop because he was the only guy on this team who hit 30 home runs and need a little bit more power than that.
I got no clue, man. That's a tough one with the Tyler O'Neill situation because qualifying offer, I don't know. I really don't know. I like total toss up for me there. I'd be cool with him coming back. I'd be cool with him going with someone else. He's got the power. He's right-handed. That's awesome. But he's also a bad defender now. He's not as fast as he used to be, and he strikes out a ton. So there's give and take with Tyler O'Neill. He's very intimidating, which is cool. He's yoked. We like that. on this show. If you're yoked,
Intimidating at the plate. Very nice guy in person.
Yeah, but he's still just like when you talk to people and they look you directly in the eye. Tyler O'Neill does that. He stares straight at you the entire time, which is very polite Canadian, but scary guy.
Dude, I posted like my whole like thank you for everything, whatever on Twitter. And I included a picture of me fist bumping Tyler O'Neill, and he's literally doing that to me in the picture. He's staring into my soul.
He probably takes pieces of your memory and makes them his own every time he speaks to you.
Yeah, you really can tell. I'm going to put it up to the screen for the YouTube people. But like, look at him just like stare into your soul.
Did you feel like a shockwave go through your fist and like forearm and bicep when he fist bumped you because it was the power?
That interview was so funny because I was like, I literally, I forget what the context, but I was like, look at you.
That was funny. That fist bump looked like firm.
I know exactly what it was. It was Gordo asking him the pet peeve because he said his pet peeve was no music in the weight room.
Right.
And then Gordo said like, I'm shocked at people who or like, how do you get this big without any music in the weight room?
Yeah, I was like, look at you, man. Like, yeah, you could get that, but you couldn't get to looking like that without music in the weight room. Look at your fucking arms and your fucking back.
Look at you, Tyler. Just look at you. So big.
All right.
Rub me the wrong way, Tyler. Rub me the wrong way.
Tyler O'Neill, he would never rub you the wrong way. All right, moving on. What do we got next?
Last one. I just thought this was a very funny question. Joe, you can pull up the video if you got it up here. A very funny question from Chris Cotillo to Sam Kennedy.
No.
He asked Sam if the goalposts have been moved for the Red Sox. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of the show with like them not talking about World Series titles. They're talking about playing baseball in October. So let's play this question out.
Have the goalposts moved on one of the successful seasons this year?
No, they haven't. Nope.
What is the successful season in the Red Sox right now?
Playing baseball in October.
So he did not like that.
Did you see that body language? He was actually like, people scoff at this term. He was actually triggered there. His eyebrows went up and he recoiled in the opposite direction of Cotillo. Like he didn't like that question at all about the goalposts moving.
Gave him a really nice set of one word or really quick answer. Sam Kennedy, as you said, Sammy, and you say a lot, is known for saying a lot of words but not answering the question. And with this one, he was not going to give that question the time of day. But yeah, I thought that was funny as hell. That might have been my favorite moment. Might be the wrong way to put it, but it might have been the one funny moment of the presser.
Cotillo's been on a heater. He's doing what Kenley did in the offseason, saying what everyone else is thinking. I like it. I go off Cotillo, and yeah, I can't get it. I'm probably gonna rewatch that after this. I didn't notice the body language from Kennedy, the recoil. He looks down at the desk before he answers. Like he didn't like that at all. So good job, Cotillo. More of that.
All right, that's all I got. I think that we did a hell of a goddamn job covering this press conference. We spent more time talking about it than they spent actually having it. Before we get out of here, any enough said from you guys? Be quick with it. Like, what do we got?
Who you guys rooting for? That's my enough said. I want to know who we're rooting for in the playoffs. Obviously, the Yankees to lose, but other than that, who's your pick now that the Sox are out?
I'm going Padres.
Pat, you want Padres?
Yep. Or so
I was asked.
I think it'd be cool to see a ring. I'm going Padres.
That's nice.
I think that's fair. Maybe I'm being spiteful for not having them on my list. I was literally asked this today, and I texted primarily anyone who beats the Yankees, as you said, Sammy, but any of Tigers, Brewers, Guardians, Diamondbacks are not out. So Tigers, Bruins, Guardians, Braves, any of those four. What about you, Sammy?
Astros all day, dude. I love the Astros.
Oh, that's right. You're a weirdo with
them.
that.
Dude, I love the Astros. They're great. I think they're like they're a heel. You need a heel in wrestling, combat sports. You need a good heel. This is the baseball heel. I hate underdogs. Don't want to see any Tigers winning here. I want the Astros to keep.
What about AC? AC wants the Tigers.
You need. I'll be happy for Alex and Joey if the Tigers win, but I'm rooting for the Astros. You need a bad guy. That's good TV. Plus, these guys have eliminated the Yankees like 4 times. So, come on. How could you not appreciate that?
I do.
I do. On the flip side, wait, Joe, who you pulling for? Before I ask
So
this?
I would say my rooting interests, because I think the best story would probably be like the Mets. The fact that they started so bad and then like have gotten this surge and then they just go on a crazy run. I don't think it'll happen. I'm probably gonna put my money on the Phillies to win it all.
Okay, that was a perfect segue.
Wait, Sammy, why don't you? Sammy, I thought you'd want Dombrowski to win. Wait, Pat. Pat, ask your question because Pat might be alluding to this exact same thing.
Yeah. What team do you want to see besides the Yankees? What team do you not want to see win? Mine is easily the Philadelphia Phillies. I hate the Phillies.
Oh, I don't like the Phillies either, but I do love Dave Dombrowski. I used to be a big time Dave Dombrowski isn't that good. All he does is spend a lot of money. But these last few years, I have come to appreciate the guy. He's a great GM. Would love to see Dombrowski win. I would love if the Red Sox front office felt really bad about it, like seeing the guy they let go. Maybe that motivates them to do better. But I'm going. They're probably the second team I'd like to see win. I'm going Astros though. That's my backup team nowadays.
Outside of the Yankees, if you're asking, I would probably say the Astros.
Yeah. Outside of the Yankees, for me, I would probably root against the Dodgers. I'm just trying to root against teams that win. If they win the World Series, the Red Sox fan base is going to have to take a ton of shit. And I think the Dodgers are in there. I think the Phillies with Dave Dombrowski are in there. I think a team like the Orioles that's in the division is in there.
That's who I want to see win the least other than the Yankees. The Orioles. I can't stand them. Not an Orioles guy. Everyone likes them. I don't like it. I'm just a hater, I think.
No, you've talked about it before though. You just hate the long build. That's why. Wait.
Yeah,
hold on a second. You can't root for the Astros and not the Orioles. Can't do it.
Yeah, but the Astros have the bad guy thing, so I kind of overlook it.
You love the bad guy.
The Astros have been spending more lately, so I'm.
Do you root for? You ever watch One Tree Hill? Either of you guys? No. Okay.
No, I have a penis.
Yeah, it's a good show. Give it a try. Dan Scott, the villain of the show, best character. Anyone listening who watched that show would think I'm insane for that. Sammy, do you have enough said before we get out of here?
No, that was it. I just wanted to hear who you guys were rooting for. I think Pat's got one.
Oh, wait, that was yours? Oh, I thought that was Pat's.
You silly goose, dude. What are you being crazy?
Pat, what do you got?
I hope I am not breaking news, but I hope you guys haven't seen this because I can't wait to see an authentic reaction if you haven't. Have you guys seen anything regarding Jordan Montgomery today?
No.
Wonderful. Okay. So, Diamondbacks managing general partner Ken Kendrick, who was on the field during the NLCS last year,
Kendrick. That's his name.
He was on a podcast or radio today. Shout out Burns and Gambo show. I think it's an Arizona sports show. He said, and I quote, if anyone wants to blame anyone for Jordan Montgomery being a Diamondback, you're talking to the guy that should be blamed. Horrible decision by me. I brought it to Mike's attention, and it wasn't even in their plans. He's under contract for next year with a player option, and he's talking about that.
Wow.
Whoa. Welcome to Boston, Jordan Montgomery. Wow. That's holy shit. I've never heard a guy talk. That's obtuse. By the way, I'm joking. I don't actually want the Red Sox to sign him.
Dude,
well, he's going to fucking pick up that player option. He's not going to be a free agent.
I don't know if that's a ploy to get him to not pick up the player option.
Maybe it is.
Dude, that's insane to say to a guy who's technically under contract for next year.
That's like a play out of the Don Sweeney Boston Bruins playbook. Just insult your guy.
Dude,
hope he comes back.
And I was like, that can't be true. And then I saw the video and I was like, no.
That's unreal.
Jordan Montgomery. He's just been screwed over. Like he Scott Boras, like, yo, I got you, man. Don't worry, I'm gonna get you a good contract. And then he just didn't. And then the Diamondbacks are just treating him like crap, and he's frustrated. And he had just won the World Series. He's having a grand old time. So sucks to see. Sucks to see. You guys hear that he was at Boston? His wife was at Boston College last winter. Did you guys hear about that?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Talk about that some more.
Oh God.
Fascinating.
That just honestly made me cringe. I cannot have those conversations again. That killed me.
Dude, his
So
wife was doing a doctorate at Boston College. That's right near Fenway Park. It means something. Please.
All right. No, moving on. My enough said before we get out of here. One thing that I didn't get to mention on yesterday's show was just a big shout out to Dave Meller, the now, well, actually, I don't know if he's now former, but he's moving on. He's the head groundskeeper at Fenway Park. He's been doing this for as long as I can remember. I don't think it's our entire lives, but I think it might be like 15 to 20 years of this. And Fenway Park is just the most beautiful field in the league, and it is all because of the work that he's put in. 23 years, Joe just fed me. 23 years for Dave Meller, and man, it's
39 overall. He's
23.
He's
been in baseball.
39 as a guy.
So man, just big shout out to him. Moving on, and it won't be the same. I remember the stories with his dog Drago after he passed away, and Drago's offspring. I believe Ian Kinsler adopted one, and Dave Meller. Yeah, I know he said offspring, and Dave Meller taught the other one to be like his guide dog, or what's the right word? Service dog, service animal,
service dog, yeah,
service dog. And I thought that was so cool. Let the lineage carry on. But yeah, his presence at Fenway will certainly be missed. It'll be interesting to see what it feels like, and if you can tell the difference next year, because I tend to think you will. So big shout out to him. Best of luck moving forward.
I got an idea. You know who they should hire to replace him? Clay Wood. It was the Oakland A's groundskeeper. It was widely regarded as like the best in the business because he had the hardest job in the industry, and he had that job for years and years and years. I just read an article about the guy. Bring him in. There you go.
Hell yeah. Manny Del Carmen and the Oakland A's groundskeeper. Offseason.
Can you imagine? Red Sox are bringing in a famous groundskeeper to replace Dave Meller. Can you imagine the outrage? Oy.
Oh, first big season acquisition.
Is the Oakland A's former groundskeeper. Let's go, baby. Right. We're back. John Henry. Thank you.
All right. That's going to do it for episode 139 of Play Tessie. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Before you get on out of here, before you go about your day, listen to whatever other teams' press conferences you want to listen to. Hit the subscribe button. Get all the notifications for episodes moving forward. Subscribe, rate 5 stars on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can also find us on YouTube on the WEI page. We've got a Play Tessie playlist there with all of our episodes. And so hit the thumbs up on those videos, and then also follow us on the socials at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. We're going to figure out our schedule moving forward. We wanted to make sure that we got this episode out there for you guys, a really quick reaction. Not that the episode was quick, but we got it out there quick. Nice reaction for you guys on the press conference. Going to be a pretty quiet month from the Red Sox leading up to, as these guys referenced earlier on the episode, like 5 days after the World Series is when you'll start to see a lot of offseason stuff really start to kick off. So, and we'll be pretty transparent about the schedule we're going to have moving forward, but we don't have it set in stone yet. So just keep your eye out. Keep your eye on the socials or on your feeds. Like we'll drop an episode, and we'll let you guys know moving forward what we got for you. But till next time, for Sammy and for Pat, for Joe producing in the back, it's Gordo here for episode 139 of Play Tessie. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.